Presenting
The Complete.
Orson Welles
and the Mercury Theater on the Air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London.
as the third man.
Stand by.
We'll be on the air in 15 seconds, Mr. Wells. Yes, I know.
Stand by, everybody.
Mercury Theater on the Air presents Orson Welles as Count Dracula in his own version of Bram Stoker's great novel,
Who knows
Dracula.
what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
Hello world, welcome to The Complete Orson Welles, brought to you by Dwayne Old Time Radio. This podcast will feature various classic radio programs ranging mostly from 1936 to 1952 that Orson either produced and directed, was featured on, or starred as a guest. If you enjoy my podcast, you can subscribe to receive notifications of new posts. Subscribing is free and only takes a moment. New episodes are posted weekly. If inclined, please leave a rating and or review on your preferred podcast service. Thank you for your support. Hope you enjoyed the genius of Mr. Welles. This week we have two interviews by Orson Welles. They are both very short. The first happens in San Francisco, outside of a movie theater, during the premiere of his movie Citizen Kane. That interview took place May 28, 1941. The second interview takes place a little over a year later, outside of a theater production from his Mercury Theater production group. The interviewer interviews some of the audience members and then comes across Rita Hayworth, Orson's new bride at that time, and interviews her for a little while, and then he also interviews Orson Welles. This interview took place September 7th, 1943.
Yes, this evening Citizen Kane opened for an extended roadshow engagement at the Geary Theater in San Francisco with Orson Welles in the leading role. This is Tro Harper speaking to you from the lobby of the Geary Theater. Not 5 minutes ago, the ushers threw open the doors and the spellbound audience began trekking their way into the glare and glitter under the marquee here in the lobby. As you can possibly hear, the men and women who have just witnessed the first Northern California showing of Citizen Kane are busily discussing all the various aspects of this new picture. Some are enthusiastic about the photography, others about the direction, still more about the story. But one and all seem to be agreed on one subject: that they saw a movie tonight, the likes of which they haven't seen since the days of D.W. Griffith and the first Super Colossal Silent. Now, I want you all to be a party to some of this conversation, so I'm going to call a few of the ladies and gentlemen here before our microphone to come up and say a few words about Orson Welles' latest triumph. In a few minutes, we hope to have not only the star of Citizen Kane up here, but we'll also talk with Miss Dolores Del Rio, just up from Hollywood to witness the San Francisco showing of this picture. And we'll also have Miss Dorothy Comingore, who plays such a stellar role opposite Mr. Welles. And now, I'd like to call Miss Comingore to the microphone. She's very busily talking to a young lady a lady who must be a friend of hers.
A very dear friend of mine.
Oh, that's good. Dorothy, there are a great many questions that I want to ask you about Citizen Kane and yourself. Now, first of all, I want to establish the fact that you're more or less a local girl, aren't you? Is that so?
That's right. I was brought up in Oakland and San Francisco and Alameda and Berkeley, so I'm practically a local product.
Now, is this your first starring picture?
Yes, indeed it is. It's the only picture I've ever had anything to do in at all.
You're not nervous, are you?
Oh, I'm terribly excited. Wouldn't you be?
I should think you would be, yes. I'm a little excited myself. Now, how did you happen to get into the movies? I know that question would interest a great many persons who are listening this evening.
Well, I happened to meet Mr. Chaplin, and Mr. Chaplin happened to make some nice remarks about a performance I did in Carmel, and Warner Brothers took me down to Hollywood, tested me and signed me and kept me under contract for 3 months, during which time I did nothing but leg art. And you know what leg art is?
Well, I wish you'd explain. I know, but I'm afraid some of our listeners might not know.
Bathing suit, stills, glamour girl stuff.
Well,
very uninteresting.
Well, I wouldn't say that. Now, how did Mr. Welles find you?
Well, Herbert Drake, his press agent, found me and introduced me to Mr. Welles.
I see. Now, do you think you learned a lot about the theater from Mr. Welles?
I learned a lot about everything from Mr. Welles.
Well, would you like to make more pictures with the Mercury group?
Indeed, I would.
And would you mind telling me this? What is your favorite scene in the picture?
My favorite scene, well, that's a very difficult question.
All of them favorite?
I think the picture is my favorite scene.
That's a very,
and
very
my
good...
favorite picture, too. I've seen it 5 times, and I still get excited and thrilled and get all glowing when I even go into the theater to see it, and I hope everyone likes it as much as I do.
Well, you certainly are excited this evening, and I don't blame you. Thank you ever so much
Thank
for being
you.
with us, Dorothy Cummington.
I'm very happy to be with you.
It's been a pleasure talking with you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have with us Mr. Herb Caen, whom you all know as the columnist on the Chronicle.
Hello, Crow.
Hi, Herb.
How are you?
Well, how'd you like the picture?
Oh, it was really sensational. It says outside it's terrific, and it really is.
And you say it's sensational, so that just adds another tribute to the picture.
Encomium, that's a terrific word, isn't it?
Well, can you tell me what impression you'll carry away from the Gary Theater tonight regarding the picture Citizen Kane?
Well, it's so different. It has nothing that any other picture has, and therefore it has everything, I guess you could say. It's an altogether new technique as far as I could see, and I was thrilled beyond words, as you can tell, too.
Well, what do you like best? The acting, the directing, the photography, the sets, or what?
Well, everything. There seemed to be a lot of Orson Welles' radio technique in it, it seemed to me. A lot of the effects he got on the Columbia workshop, and on a lot of his Columbia broadcasts.
Well, then nothing stood out in particular, which makes it a perfect picture, would that?
Just the projection of that one personality over and over until it got to be really tremendous and gripping. And the finale was really a kick, too.
Well, do you think the players did a good job in their supporting roles, the Mercury group?
Well, I thought it was one of the best all-around casts I've ever seen. And it's great to see so many new faces on the screen.
Well, now, here's something I heard about the picture before I came over here this evening.
You saw it, didn't you, Tro?
Yes, I did. Do you think
What did you think of the picture?
Well, I reserve my statements.
For what? The press?
No, I can't afford to go on at too great length about it because I really thought it was marvelous. But one thing that impressed me was that the camera seemed to lose its identity as a machine and became just almost like your eyes become and carries you right on through the whole picture. Did it impress you that way?
Yes, well, I was looking for that because I'd read so much about Citizen Kane and Greg Toland's technique, and he came through in all degrees, I must say.
Well, now, speaking from the standpoint of a moviegoer, would you call Citizen Kane good movies, or would you say it was good theater?
Oh, it's a lovely combination of both. Let's say Bo Kane's to Citizen Kane, or Citizen Kane is O'Kane, can we say that?
If you get many more Kanes in it, you'll really have it.
Well,
now, would you like to see more pictures produced and directed by Orson Welles?
Oh, definitely. I think he's really the wonder boy of Hollywood, New York, radio, and what have you.
Now, a lot of persons believe that movies are gradually working themselves up toward what shall we call the art form. Would you say that Citizen Kane moved the movie industry along toward that goal?
Yeah, I think it is a tremendous step forward in everything. Story, development of plot, acting, conception, all the way down the line. It's really plays up to the moviegoer no end. It makes you feel like you're something of an intellectual sitting there seeing a picture like that.
Well, thank you ever so much, Herb Caen. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'll see you again real soon.
Right.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have with us Mr. Claude LaBelle of the San Francisco News, who's going to come up here on the platform and tell us his impressions of the picture. Mr. LaBelle, what impressions did you get?
Well, it's almost too hard to say without sitting back and thinking a long while, but I think if you can count up the great pictures that have ever been made on the fingers of both hands, that Citizen Kane will be on the fingers of the first hand. I have never seen a more striking finish, more imaginative finish in my life than that one to Citizen Kane. Acting, setting, direction, everything has been, well, little short of stunning.
I see. Now, were you conscious that Mr. Welles was breaking any of the rules in movie making?
Oh, no, because Mr. Welles didn't break any rules in movie making. Mr. Welles took an old technique of the cutback, the oldest thing in movies, and proceeded to do magical things with it.
I see.
He didn't break any rules. He just he made the best of all the rules that the others have overlooked.
Well, I mentioned that because I had heard that he broke the rules in this way, Hollywood rules anyway. He shot against lights and dark backgrounds and low ceilings and so forth.
Well, others have done that same thing in smaller fashion, perhaps.
I see.
But he seems to have gotten the essence of all of these various mannerisms, tricks of technique, and everything else, and welded them into a whole. That's the beauty of the picture.
Now, who among the supporting players did you like best, or did you like them all?
The man that played Bernstein.
I see.
And Miss Common-Gore's work, of course, was very good, too.
Yes, well, I always read your comments in the news, and are very interested in what
Thank
you
you
say
very much.
about it.
That makes 105 people now that I know about.
Well, do you think this marks the beginning of a new era in movie making? That Hollywood directors in the future will look to this as sort of an experiment, an early experiment in a new technique?
No, they have already. I think one picture now playing in town used this same technique and used it wrongly.
Oh.
No, I think that next time Mr. Wells makes a picture, he'll probably take out something else and dust it off and make it look better than it ever has before. I mean, if Mr. Wells were going to make every picture from now on in this fashion in a year, it would be an old story. I think Mr. Wells is too good a craftsman to tie himself down to any one way of making a picture. In other words, I think he'll let the picture he's making guide him in the way he's going to make it.
I see. Well, thank you ever so much, Mr. LaBelle. It's been a great pleasure having you up here with us. And now I think it's our great good fortune to have with us at this time Mr. Orson Welles. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Orson Welles.
Thank you. I wish I could say that I was born in San Francisco, because I wish I was born in San Francisco. It would be a wonderful thing. I can't find a town that's as nice, and we've had the most wonderful reception for our picture tonight, and I'm pretty inarticulate about it all, because I was, frankly, I'm so close to a few people who are under the delusion that they are being persecuted that I was a little frightened about this thing. But now I'm very happy. Very slap happy, as a matter of fact.
Well, now, how many times have you seen yourself in this picture?
Too many times. Too many times. I can see through it all. I've been to 3 openings now, and I have to sit there and pretend that I'm interested.
Well, do you enjoy seeing yourself at last?
No, that gives me the creeps. But I like to see the other actors, because I think they're very good, and I think they're wonderful.
Well, I know you're a great booster
that's
for the
not
Mercury.
That's not being falsely modest. If you act anybody who likes themselves on the screen must be an egomaniac, because you can't stand it anymore. You can stand hearing your own voice. It just makes you nervous. You sit there. But there's always something else going on. And this isn't a star picture, as you know. I'm not... the part of Kane is not comparable to a star part, and so there isn't as much of it as there is in the, if I were Gable, it would be much more nerve-wracking. There are all those close-ups,
Well, now, of the 3 different types of acting, radio, stage, or screen, which do you enjoy most?
Acting? Which do I enjoy most? Stage. Every actor does.
Is there any reason for that? I've often heard
Yes,
that.
because you're acting to a living audience. But as a director, I much prefer the pictures. And as a writer...
You had a lot of fun doing that.
Oh, yes. I prefer the motion picture medium to anything, except as an actor, You can't learn anything. You see, I like to learn things, and you can learn as a director in front of behind a camera, but as an actor, you can't learn anything. You have to learn it from an audience.
I understand. Now, here's something that interested me. Where do you get your ideas? Do you make them up on the spur of the moment while you're shooting, so to speak, or was it all planned out before you did it?
Some of them, and some of it was planned out very carefully.
I see. Now, I know a lot of people will be interested in your more or less personal life. How long is your working day?
Long working day, about 14 hours, sometimes 18.
Well, I read a little story that you sometimes go to work at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh, for this picture, I started at 2:30. I had to get up at 2:30 every morning, put on all these rubber double chins, and I wore a nylon stocking for a bald head, Now, that took an hour and a half to put on. And so by the time I was ready to start work on the picture, I had been up and working on the makeup for about 6 hours. Then when I was done, at the end of the day, I had to start in editing for the next day and so on. So it was very tiring, chiefly because of this elaborate makeup. False eyes, false teeth, nose, chin, everything.
Well, now, how did you happen to pick the Mercury actors to come to Hollywood with you?
Most of them have been with me for years. Some of them are new.
With the Mercury group in New
Some
York.
of them are new. Miss Common-Gore, who was here tonight, is with me for the first time, plays the part of Susan Alexander. And Miss Warwick, who plays the first wife, is also new. Everybody else has been with me for a long time in a lot of shows, most of them in more plays than I've been in.
I see. Now, what about the future? Will you make any more moving pictures?
I certainly will, unless I'm withheld from it for being unfair to American motherhood or whatever the latest attack is.
Well,
We're on the air, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
How do you do? Unfair, anyway.
Well, Orson, it's
But as long as they'll be, let me have a camera, I'll grind it. That's a wonderful business.
You really enjoy making
Yeah.
pictures. Did
Right.
you know much about photography before you started working the pictures?
No, I don't know much about photography.
You just enjoy working with it.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I see. Well, thank you ever so much,
Thank you.
Orson Welles. It's been
Bye.
a great pleasure to talk with you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been speaking to you from the lobby of the Geary Theater in San Francisco, where we have been interviewing the many persons of this brilliant first night audience who have just witnessed the first Northern California opening of Citizen Kane starring Orson Welles. Citizen Kane will be playing a limited engagement here at the Geary Theater in San Francisco. So if you'd like to see a picture that is the talk of the year, by all means make your reservations early. Honest, it's terrific. Your announcer has been Tro Harper, and this is Columbia's key station for Northern California.
This is Hal Stiles coming to you over KMTR with a program direct from the Mercury Wonder Show located at 900 North Cahuenga Boulevard, almost in the heart of Hollywood, where Orson Welles, Orson the Magnificent, brings you 2.5 hours of perhaps the greatest show of its kind ever to be presented in this or any other part of the country. We are stationed with a portable microphone right now during the intermission period in front of the stage proper, where some 1,500 soldiers have been enjoying this show, at least the first half of it, along with what Orson calls some 500 suckers, those who make the broadcast and, of course, who make the show itself possible. Now, the Assistants League derives all of the benefit to be received from your attendance at this show. And while I can't, of course, bring you the many, many illusions and tricks that Orson has already performed and will continue to perform at the conclusion of the intermission period, I can tell you this, that all of the people assembled here tonight have really enjoyed this show to the very fullest extent. They have laughed and enjoyed it, well, just as much as it is possible for almost anyone to enjoy it. Now I'm going to, by way of, you might say, proof, bring to you the voices of some of these people who constitute the sucker list. I'll also, in the process, bring you the voices of some of the soldiers and the sailors and the Marines and let them testify in their own way whether or not they enjoyed the show. First of all, we come upon a man here who is a corporal in the Army. May I ask you, sir, what your name is?
Yes, PFC Raymond G. Holmes.
PFC Raymond G. Holmes. And will you tell me whether or not you enjoyed the show?
I'm getting a terrific kick out of it.
A terrific kick. Well, that's fine. And now we come right alongside here, a sailor. Would you tell me your name, please?
Allen, Edwin Allen.
And how are you enjoying the show?
Just fine. It's a wonderful show.
You really like it, huh? Fine and dandy. And now we come to a lieutenant. I don't know, frankly, whether he is in the Army or the Navy. Frankly, I'm not a little confused. What is your name, please?
Ensign Wheaton.
Ensign Wheaton. Well, I'll get it straight after a while. And how are you enjoying the show?
Very much.
Very well indeed, huh? Would you come again if you had an opportunity?
Oh, yes, indeed.
You certainly would. Well, that's fine and dandy. Now we come over here to something first class. I don't know just what that stands for, but he is in the Navy. What is your name, sir?
Switzer, WJ.
And how are you enjoying the show?
Very good.
Very good. Well, that's fine. Now I'm going to take the microphone down in the center aisle over here and see if we can pick up some of the so-called suckers, the kind who really enjoy the show. May I ask your name, sir?
Merritt, Wally Merritt.
Wally Merritt, and tell me, are you from Los Angeles?
Yes, from Los Angeles.
And is this the first time you've seen the Orson Welles show?
It is.
And do you enjoy it?
It's a wonderful show.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the lady alongside of you, may I ask your name, please?
Mrs. Van Wielden.
And are you from Los Angeles, too?
No, I'm not.
And where are you from?
Well, I'm really from The Hague, Holland.
Is that so? The Hague, Holland. Well, I was in The Hague, Holland some years ago, believe it or not. Also in Rotterdam and Amsterdam. So we have something in common. How do you like the show?
Very much. It's delightful.
Well, that's all we really want to know. Now, we have hundreds of people. A lot of them are outside at the moment during the intermission period in the front of the tent and enjoying themselves, getting soft drinks and things of that sort. Here's a little boy over here. What is your name, boy?
Jack Greenwood.
And do you enjoy the show?
Yes, very much.
Very much. You did something in it just a moment ago, didn't you?
Yes, I went up and I held the key for Mr. Cotton and Mr. Wells.
Oh, that's right. Did you ever see a show like this before?
No, I've seen circuses, but not like this.
Not like this. This is really new and unusual. And this gentleman here, would you tell me your name, sir?
Yes, my name is Ed Trotman.
And are you from Los Angeles?
Yes, I'm from Hollywood.
From Hollywood. And do you enjoy the show?
Very, very much. It's a very wonderful show.
Uh-huh. And you think you've spent your money well?
I did. I spent it very well.
Uh-huh. Well, that's fine and dandy. All right, now we come to a couple of ladies over here. May I ask your name, please?
Mrs. Jackson, Clara W. Jackson.
And are you from Hollywood?
No, I'm from Los Angeles.
From Los Angeles proper. And do you enjoy the show?
Very, very much. Much better than I expected it was ever going to be.
Very good. And the lady here?
Mrs. Roselle from Iowa.
From Iowa, huh? And are you here on a visit?
No, I moved here.
Oh, I see. And you're enjoying the show?
Very, very much. And I do hope that Mrs. Wells will be careful so Orson doesn't fool her too badly.
Very good indeed. Here we have a clown. I think I want to bring him to the microphone. What is your name?
My name is Bozo the Clown.
Bozo the Clown. And you, of course, have played a very great part here in the success of the show thus far. And are you sort of sorry to see it break up?
I really am, and Orson Welles is a very marvelous fellow. And I hope to be with him quite a lot of other times on his camp shows and camp tours. And thank you very much.
Not at all, thank you. And now we've got a little girl here sucking a piece of something or other. What is that, ice cream?
Ice cream.
And what is your name?
Patricia Donadolphin.
And do you enjoy the show?
Very much.
Very much. And your little girlfriend?
I like the show an awful lot.
And what is your name?
Gloria Borden.
Gloria Borden. Well, that's fine. Well, now, there are hundreds of other people that we could bring to the microphone if we had an opportunity. You can rest assured, I think, from that little illustration there, that all of these people really are enjoying this truly wonderful show, which is for the benefit of servicemen and costs them absolutely nothing. And, of course, these suckers who pay some $5.25 and $2.75 and $1.65, respectively, who make it possible for the proceeds, the profits at least, to go to the benefit of the Assistance League. Well, I find that we don't have enough cable here to go all the way outside, and I wanted to do that. But I can tell you that we're now going direct into the dressing room to interview Orson Welles himself, along with Marlene Dietrich, if she is there, and I sincerely hope that she is, and Joseph Cotton. I think that ought to bring a thrill to all of you girls and fellows. So we'll go into the dressing room, up at the head of the theater proper, over to the right, if I'm not moving too fast for someone to bring this cable behind me, and go directly into the dressing room. Now, I've got a sort of a secret here, and I think that this will be the first announcement, radio announcement of this made thus far. Orson has brought something unusual to people here, there, and every place, and while he doesn't know it, he's just about ready. Believe it or not, he's just as surprised about this as a lot of other people are. So Orson himself, Orson the Magnificent, will you step to the microphone for just a moment and tell us, first of all, why are you just walking out on us, so to speak?
Walking out on you? Walking out is not a fair way to describe the situation. I'm a man who's just been married.
And would you mind telling us who you've been married to?
The band is playing. There she is. There she is.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you the lovely, incomparable, the one and only Rita Hayworth, who today became the very blushing and very charming bride of Orson Welles. Rita, will you just say hello?
Hello. I'm... No.
No, wait.
I am... I was...
No, wait a minute. It can't end as quickly as all that. I know I can appreciate that a marriage has taken place, but after all, we do have some listeners. We want... what do you think of Orson?
Oh, shut
What do I think of my husband? Oh!
Well, at any rate, this is truly a wonderful show, and I know that you played a very important part in it until Marlene Dietrich very kindly took your place, but I can appreciate now the reason for this. There must have been a very, very important reason. Now I want to bring, we just have a moment or two, I want to bring Marlene Dietrich to the microphone and ask her whether or not, do you enjoy the part that you've been playing in the show?
I love it.
And are you sort of sorry to see it to sort of come to a rather hasty conclusion?
Oh, I don't think we were close.
Well, that's very good. Orson applauds that. Maybe when he returns from Washington, he will be very happy to see that the thing continues. Personally, I hate to see the show end because it's been a wonderful show, as all of the people brought to the microphone thus far have been able to so very volubly testify. Marlena, did you... I don't know how to say it, but this mind-reading demonstration you gave is really very unusual. Did you have you been doing things like that all your life?
Oh, yes, all my life.
You enjoy doing the work.
Yes, I love it, too.
Well, just as Orson said, the seventh daughter of a seventh daughter. Now, Orson, before we sign off, and I don't know just how much time we do have left here, we've got time enough, he says, tell me, what prompted you to, present this show?
Well, the Mercury is not accomplished at singing and dancing and telling jokes, so we tried to think of something that would hold the attention for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and this is the best we could do. Magic. It gives us a peg to hang our jokes on and a chance to show the men in service somebody as beautiful as Marlene Dietrich, and an opportunity for some bright music and a few gags, and that's about it.
Well, there's no question but what you've done a very, very wonderful job. It's been a wonderful show, and you've been here some 7 or 8 weeks, is that right?
About 7.5 weeks now.
And how many would you estimate, how many soldiers and sailors would you estimate you've played to?
Played to about 40,000.
About 40,000.
Right, Jack? 48,000. 48,000.
Now, tell me, do you intend to take the show on the road for a tour?
Later, we're going to take it on a camp tour, And there's every chance that we'll also play it after the camp tour in Great Britain or in North Africa, somewhere like that.
Oh, very good indeed. That's a splendid gesture. And if all the boys in the far-flung fighting fronts enjoy the show as much as they've been enjoying it here, I think they've got a great deal in store for them. Now, Joe Cotton is around here someplace. I wonder if we can't get him to the microphone just to say a word. Will somebody put in a call for Joe and see if we can just sort of bring him to the microphone for a second? Because Joe plays a very important part in the show, too. He and Orson, along with Marlene Dietrich, do a very wonderful escape trick in a trunk in which it seems that Joe is strapped into the trunk. I can't tell you just exactly how it happens, but after he's strapped into the trunk, Orson makes a few passes or something of that sort, and the first thing you know, Joe appears from just about the most unheard-of place, and then shortly after that, he appears again, and then Marlene Dietrich appears. Well, now... at any rate, here is Joe Cotton. Joe,
good evening. Good evening. How are you, Hal?
I'm very fine indeed, Joe. And tell me, how do you enjoy the part that you've been playing in the show?
Well, I have a good time. Orson locks me up in that trunk, and pretty hard to get out of it, but I studied with Houdini when I was a kid, and it's about the best I can do.
Well, I think you do very nicely indeed. There's no question about that. And I think now the show is about to begin. This is the intermission period, as I said before. And, I do want to get a word from Orson's, I don't know how to say, Shorty, the one and only Shorty. Shorty is just about as important on this show as I think anyone else. Shorty, how about a word?
Hi, everybody.
Shorty does so many things, it's pretty hard to keep tabs on him. He's running back and forth, and if you come tonight and tomorrow night, you can see the last performances of the famous Mercury Wonder Show located at 900 Cahuenga Boulevard, almost in the heart of Hollywood, starring Orson Welles, the Magnificent, Marlene Dietrich, and Joe Cotton. And you'll see 2.5 hours of just about the greatest magic show you have ever seen in your life, and I say that sincerely when I do. And so... until tomorrow night, when we sincerely hope that you'll all be at the Mercury Wonder Show, 900 Cahuenga Boulevard. This is Hal Stives reminding us always to keep smiling.
Thank you for listening to and showing your support for my podcast. If you would like to receive notifications of when new episodes are posted, please subscribe to my channel. Subscriptions are 100% free, and they really help me get an idea of how I'm doing. You can also go to my website where you can listen to all of my podcasts for free, and you can also download episodes for free. The website is otr.duane.media. There is also donation information on there if you want to show your support or become a patron. You can email me at info@otr.duane.media. I'm also on Instagram at Duane.otr. Well, hope you enjoyed, and until next time, stay safe, wish you well, and as always, peace.